Hi, I'm Jessie from Jessie Doe Designs, and I'm here in collaboration with Darn Good Yarn to show you how to make this lovely summer themed embroidery hoop with their hemp dyed embroidery threads. So let's get stitching. Before you start, you're going to need to trace the design onto your fabric using a water soluble pen, a pencil, or as I've used, a heat erasable pen. Then all you need is an embroidery needle, some scissors and some embroidery thread. I'm going to be using Darn Good Yarn's new Herbal dyed silk embroidery threads in the summer shades. I'm going to start my design by using my pink embroidery thread to stitch the tall leaf, using stem stitch for the stems and satin stitch for the leaves. To stem stitch, come up at point A, then stitch back down at point B a short distance away. But don't pull your thread all the way through just yet, instead keeping a loop of it with your thumb to make this next bit easier. Come up again through the fabric at point C, directly in between the two stitches you've just made, and pull your thread all the way through. Then stitch back down at point D, creating a stitch the same length as your first and repeating this all the way down your stem. Try and keep your stitches all the same length if you can. Once you've done all your stem sections, you can start satin stitching the leaves. To do this, just stitch from one side of your leaf shape to the other, always starting and finishing your stitches at opposite ends so your stitches don't warp. Try and keep your tension the same so you don't pucker your fabric. Now we're going to focus on our flowers. I'm going to cover the centres of these two flowers in French knots using my yellow thread. To do a French knot, bring your needle all the way up through your fabric, hold your needle in your dominant hand, and with your other hand, wrap the thread that's at the base of the fabric around your needle twice in a clockwise direction. Pop your needle back down through your fabric just next to where it first came up, although not the same hole, keeping hold of the thread until you have nothing left to pull through. Then let go and gently pull that leftover thread through. Your French knots should sit neatly on your fabric, but they can take a little practice to get perfect. Keep going until you have covered your flower centres in French knots. Next, I'm going to use this same yellow thread to stem stitch my flower stems and satin stitch their little leaves as I did with the big leaf. Once that's done, I'm going to stitch the petals of my flowers using the lazy daisy stitch, using the same pink thread as my tall leaf. To do this, bring your needle up at one edge of your petal where it meets the flower centre, hold the thread with your thumb, and then take your needle back down opposite your first stitch on the other end of your petal. Don't pull your thread through all the way just yet, instead keeping a short amount of it in a loop with your thumb. Now secure this loop to the surface of your fabric with a small stitch at the end of your petal like so, coming up inside your loop and stitching back down just outside it. Continue to do this all the way around your flower petals until it looks like this. To finish off, I'm going to be using my red thread to stitch the letters using whipped back stitch. To do this, make a small stitch coming up at point A, then stitch back down a short distance away at point B. Continue to backstitch your letter by coming back up again at point C, the same distance away as the length of that first stitch. Then stitch back down at point B again. Repeat this last step until you have finished your letter as so. Once you have finished, whip these stitches by coming back up at the start of your letter and threading your needle through your stitches on top of your fabric as so, always threading in the same direction. When you finish this, you can simply pop your needle back down through your fabric at the end of your letter. Repeat this with the rest of your letters and you're finished. Now you have a summery floral addition to hang on your wall or use as a gift. For more tips, make sure you follow Jessie Designs and Darn Good Yarn on Instagram and check out their other thread collections at www.darngoodyarn.com.